Welcome to Dr. Katina Talks, the podcast where we explore the journey to a more fulfilling, balanced, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Dr. Katina. And before we begin, I want to tell you something. This episode, it was hard. It was hard to write, and it was even harder to record. There were moments when I held back tears, and other moments when I just let the tears roll. Because what I'm sharing today isn't just about gratitude. It's about grace, it's about dignity, and it's about how the most sacred lessons often come wrapped in the most ordinary moments. I had one of those moments just the other day. I went to the grocery store to pick up a few things. It was supposed to be a quick in and out, but as I stood in line, I noticed the woman who was ringing up my items. She was what we might call severely obese. And you could tell she had some physical and maybe other challenges too. Her speech was a little off, her movements slow, and even standing there seemed to take effort. In the middle of her ringing up my groceries, another woman came up from behind me. She had a cart full of groceries and asked my cashier, "Hey, do you want me to grab you some of that soda that's on sale?" My cashier replied, "Yeah." Then she went on to tell her which aisle to find the soda. The way they looked at each other, you could feel they had a deep connection. Same build, same features, same rhythm in their speech. My checkout lady's face lit up as she talked to the other lady on her way to get the on-sale soda. Before the other lady turned down the aisle, out of sight, my checkout lady turned to her coworkers and said proudly, "That's my sister, the middle one, the one who gives me all the trouble." The whole group laughed, and I found myself smiling too. Not out of amusement, but admiration, because what I saw between those two sisters was joy. It wasn't curated joy. It wasn't performative joy. It was pure, unfiltered, unbothered joy. Joy in belonging. Joy in being seen. Joy that didn't need anything to change in order to exist. And as I stood there taking in this interaction, I thought about how easily we overlook people, especially people whose lives may look simple from the outside, but are rich with something this world can't buy: contentment. Watching those sisters reminded me of my father. He worked in a grocery store for years after he got sober, after addiction, after homelessness, after losing nearly everything. And when he finally found stability, when life had given him another chance, he took such pride in that job. I only visited the grocery store where he worked a handful of times, and each time I visited, he'd stop whatever he was doing to greet me. On one particular day, he was working in the meat department, and he took off his blood-stained white jacket and said, "Come on, Tina." He greeted me as usual by pulling me in for a hug, then planting a big, juicy, wet kiss on my cheek. Then he'd walk me through the aisles, to the deli, the bakery, the hot food section, introducing me to everyone. "This is my daughter, Tina." He'd beam. "My oldest." And when people said, "Your daughter? You look too young. You two look like twins," he'd laugh with pride. And he always had to buy me something. It didn't matter that I didn't need anything. I'd grab a candy bar or a tasty cake just so he could pay, because I knew what that meant to him, to be the one who could give, after years of having nothing to offer, to stand where once there was shame, and now there was dignity. What I would give to have that walk with him again, to feel that same joy in his voice when he said, "This is my daughter." I think about my dad often, especially on my walk to work. I live on the riverfront here in Wilmington, Delaware, in a beautiful 3-story townhouse, and every morning I walk past people who are living the life my father once lived. Some are sleeping on benches. Some look like they've just been turned out from a shelter. And when I see them, I always speak. I say, "Hello." I smile. Sometimes I say, "Good morning," and the surprise that crosses their faces. the way it softens their posture, the light that flickers back into their eyes, reminds me what my father taught me about humanity, that being seen is a form of grace. He used to tell me about sleeping on park benches, about eating from trash cans, about other unthinkable things he did to survive. And to see the man he became, handsome, bright, full of warmth, you'd never know what he had overcome. So when I pass a homeless person on the street and greet them, I'm not just speaking to a stranger. I'm speaking to my father's memory, to every person who's ever been unseen, unwanted, or unacknowledged. And I'm silently saying, you matter. I see you. That's what gratitude really is. Not a list, not a habit, but a way of seeing. It's awareness, it's presence, it's remembering that grace lives in ordinary places. And recently, someone thought it was important to remind me that both of my parents were addicts, as if that were an insult. But I wasn't offended. Their blood runs through my veins. I am who I am because of them. Their strength, their weakness, their pain, and the union of two teenagers trying to figure life out. I am the product of something broken that still bloomed. Just another example of how God can take what's fractured and make it whole. How he can take what's forgotten and make it beautiful. So when I think of my father, I don't see an addict. I see a man who fought his way back to dignity, who rebuilt his life one shift, one paycheck, one "this is my daughter" at a time. And when I think of myself, I see the evidence of that redemption. Because grace has a way of rewriting bloodlines. And gratitude, real gratitude, reminds you that you can rise from what tried to ruin you. As usual, I have 5 lessons for you. 1. Gratitude humbles us. It reminds us that grace has carried us farther than strength ever could. It's easy to think we've made it on our own, but gratitude tells the truth. It pulls pride off the throne and replaces it with reverence. Gratitude says, I worked, but grace worked harder. When you live from that place, you stop striving to prove your worth. You start honoring the God who sustained you. 2. Gratitude transforms comparison into compassion. We live in a world obsessed with measuring worth. Who has more? Who's ahead? Who's falling behind? But gratitude changes the question from why don't I have what they have to what can I learn from the way they live? When you choose gratitude, you trade envy for empathy. You see people not through hierarchy, but through humanity. It's not about who's better, it's about who's seen. Gratitude restores joy to the ordinary and reverence to the routine. The sacred isn't hiding in the extraordinary. It's tucked inside the moments we rush past. A sister's laugh, a cashier's smile, a walk through your city at sunrise. Gratitude slows you down long enough to realize that the miracle isn't the moment itself. It's the you were awake enough to notice it. The ordinary becomes holy when you finally learn how to see it. And 4, this is my favorite takeaway. If you take nothing else away, please listen to this one. Gratitude reconciles you with your body and with your story. This body has carried you through every storm and every start over. It deserves your thanks, not your criticism. And your story, the one with the cracks and the detours, deserves your gratitude too, because you can't be ashamed of the soil that grew you. Gratitude allows you to look back at what hurt you and say, you didn't destroy me, you developed me. And that realization is freedom. 5. Gratitude anchors you in presence, even when presence hurts. It calls you back to right now. Gratitude doesn't erase grief or disappointment. It reframes it. It teaches you to whisper thank you, even when your heart is still healing. When you can find peace in what is instead of what was or should have been, you're no longer chasing joy. you're living in it. That moment in the grocery store reminded me that gratitude isn't about what you have, it's about what you see. And when you start seeing differently, you start living differently. I think about my father, that proud man in his meat jacket, introducing me to everyone in the store. I think about those two sisters laughing in the checkout line. I think about the people I pass on the street each morning and how all of them, in their own way, reflect back pieces of grace. Because the truth is, gratitude doesn't just change your outlook, it transforms your identity. It teaches you to appreciate the soil that grew you, to stop apologizing for your roots, and start recognizing what's been redeemed through them. My parents' story wasn't polished, it was real, it was raw, but look at what came out of it. I am the living proof that God doesn't discard broken things, He rebuilds them. I am the continuation of a story that was once covered in shame, but now drips with passion and purpose. And every time I say thank you, I'm not just speaking to God, I'm speaking to my ancestors, to my parents, to every version of me that didn't think she'd make it here. Gratitude turns memory into meaning. It takes what hurt you and harvests what healed you. It allows you to look back and say, you didn't destroy me, you developed me. You deepened me. You made me grateful for my roots. So today, I don't just thank God for what's beautiful. I thank Him for what's broken, because that's where the light came through. Gratitude doesn't make life perfect. It makes it possible. It reminds us that grace doesn't skip over the messy parts. It redeems them. And maybe that's the real gift of gratitude. Not that it changes what we see, but that it changes who we become because of how we choose to see. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Dr. Katina Talks. If this message touched you, share it with someone who might need a reminder that grace is still working, even in the ordinary. And if you want to dive deeper, visit my website at DrKatinaTalks.com and download the free companion journal filled with prompts and space to write your own story of gratitude and grace. And don't forget to follow the podcast and connect with me on all the socials at Dr. Katina Talks. Bye for now.